late Denard Robinson days of college football and just go Wildcat entire game, they'll probably have better success, to be honest with you, Mikey.
With who?
I actually have a suggestion for you.
They used to play
No, I have a
quarterback.
suggestion, really. You put, okay, so Darren Waller retired. You need a tight end. Daniel Jones can run it fast. He can run a straight line. Put his ass at tight end. Yeah, he's big enough. Put the motherfucker at tight end and try to see what happens at this point. He's not a fucking quarterback. He might be a tight end.
Football is back, everyone. Welcome to episode 128. I am Jonathan Sawyer. With me are my brothers Mikey, Grandpa Jay, and Trey Day. As you can see, we decided to change it up a little bit. Two of us are on our phone, two of us are on our laptop, and all of us are watching football every single week. Fellas, NFL is back. A lot of question marks, a lot of surprises, a lot of, okay, we saw this coming for NFL Week 1. And in the college ranks, Mike, what happened?
I don't want to talk about it.
What are you saying, Mike? What happened?
Yeah, I didn't
Michigan,
do anything.
what happened?
Bro, we played the number 2 team in the country. What do you mean?
Kentucky,
we all knew
what
this
happened?
was coming. We all knew this was coming with Michigan. I had a feeling. I just didn't want to admit it. But that
There's only
Texas
one
team is
undefeated
a
team
real
right now.
deal.
There's only one undefeated team on this panel right now. We just have to acknowledge that.
Who?
The Ohio State Buckeyes. That's all
Ah,
I'm saying.
Jesus.
Right now,
Yeah, you played
for now.
Eastern Kentucky Tech A&M.
Sisterhood of the Blind.
We play real teams. Akron's a real team. They're a real university.
Yes, they really do wear cleats. That's about how real they are.
They also
The
have
best thing about Akron is their mascot.
Cut the shit, Notre Dame. Are you kidding me? You lost to Northern Illinois? You do this every year, I swear to God, and this is why people don't expect you to ever win a championship. Because you'll beat Texas A&M at possibly the toughest stadium to win in the country, and yet then you go lose to Northern Illinois. And at this point, you need to beat Purdue this week, and then you need to win out, because you will not make the playoff. You were already number 5 in the country going into week 2, which is the highest the playoff would let you be, because you can't be a conference champion. Now, if you don't win out, I guarantee you they will put 2 and 3 loss teams, maybe even 4 loss teams from the SEC and Big Ten in ahead of you because of the strength of schedule. Because you have to beat Florida State, you have to beat USC. That's the only 2 tough games that you might have left. The rest of them should be absolute wins. So, nut up, figure it out, and win these games, because at this point you may have cost yourself your whole season.
So with the new college football playoff format, it has given teams kind of this little bit of leeway with maybe losing a game early or not hurting you so much. But do you think it's way too early to determine that, if it's hurt the regular season or not? Trey Day?
Yes.
Oh no, Mike's urgent about
Damn,
this.
Trey
Go
Day, you
ahead,
sound like Mike.
I see, Mike has a full plan. Let's hear Mike's plan.
No, yeah, I'm sorry to jump the gun, but it is absolutely too early to determine it. We've had 2 weeks. Like, we haven't even gotten to the playoff yet to see what the playoff itself actually looks like. Now, I think for me, I want to wait until we get through this whole season, see what the regular season plays out to be, and then what the playoff plays out to be, to see if we can actually judge whether it's hurt it or not. So give it a full year. Let's have a little bit of patience here. That's just my opinion.
Personally, I think it's going to, because I think teams are going to take some time off. And honestly, one way to eliminate this is to make it where you're not able to play any cupcake teams, where Georgia doesn't play Tennessee Tech and Florida doesn't play Samford. Everybody plays tough games. Texas and Michigan, supposed to be a really great game. And I said this all week, that it would have been a great game last year. But the problem is that it was not the right team on the field for Michigan. It was we lost 48% of our roster last year to the draft and some to the transfer portal. Not making excuses on it. It's just that Texas team brought back everybody, right? So I think it is going to hurt it, because they're playing too many. Right now, they're still playing the cupcake schedule. I think eventually we're going to see like Ohio State, Texas. We're going to see Michigan play Bama early in the season, where we're having more.
But they always had, though. See, There's
But
one
like,
thing.
I think it should be more. That's what I'm
No,
saying.
but let me put a real quick point to you. So Ohio State was scheduled to play Washington. The reason they didn't play Washington was because they moved to the Big Ten. So some of these games got scrapped due to conference realignment. When they moved to the
Right.
Big Ten, that game got scrapped for Akron or Marshall, one of those two. So there was a lot of games that lost. I forgot who I was watching, but somebody was in the same conference, and they said they didn't consider it a conference game because it was scheduled as a non-conference game originally. And I forgot what two teams it was. I'm like, well, that's strange. So all the conference realignment actually fucked that up. Because in traditional years, like going forward, Ohio State's already scheduled to play Georgia. In 2 years, Ohio State's scheduled to play Bama already. Ohio State's scheduled to play Texas. But some of these got scrapped with the realignment, to be honest. I mean, I know what you're saying about the cupcakes.
Yeah.
But
I
some
think
of that's
what we're
because
gonna
of
have to do is basically it's gonna come down to that type of record, right? We're gonna be like, oh, what is the record of Samford versus Tennessee Tech? And it's like, okay, how badly did they beat them? Where I think 5 years from now, we're not going to see as many cupcake games early because there's going to be so many determined. I mean, shit, 5 years from now, there might be a fucking 64 team tournament the way they're fucking going. But I mean, I think you scheduling tough in the beginning and losing to a top ranked team early or beating a top ranked team early and maybe not finishing as strong is going to help you versus hurt you at the end. Versus, like, let's just say, no offense, Mike, but your Notre Dame Fighting Irish shot themselves in the foot this year. They have to win out perfectly, and they got to hope for the best at the end of the year that some of the teams that were supposed to be good are good. And realistically, they had a huge win on the road. Losing to Northern Illinois is not in their favor right now because their schedule is not as tough as you would hope. So, Grandpa Jay,
but that's a Notre Dame issue, which is a separate issue because with them not doing the conference thing, everybody else, to me, I'm not pressed to schedule these crazy games if I already know I got to run the gauntlet of the Big Ten, SEC. I wouldn't be scheduling crazy games. So I don't think it's on them to do that. Notre Dame is in a different boat because they automatically can't make it in the top 4 because you have to win your conference to be in the top 4. So Notre Dame's always only fighting for 8 spots. Everybody else is fighting for 12. So that's an inherent thing as long as they decide to be independent. Then that's
they're already fighting behind the bush at this point.
Yeah, they're already fighting. So they inherently, by doing a non-conference team, give themselves actual handicap that the other teams don't have. Whereas Michigan loses to Texas, even if, let's say, Michigan lost to, let's say, Appalachian State, you still could possibly win a Big Ten. It could have been a top 4 seed. They don't have the opportunity. That's because they scheduled that way. I don't think there's anything wrong with scheduling the cupcakes, to be honest with. I even had this as a suggestion before we got here is I just think they need to start mixing up the schedule more. So maybe you don't make it where all conference games on the back end. Make it where somebody could start a conference game on week 1. Maybe you sprinkle a cupcake in on week 3. Because it's unnatural to go out here every week and play it. The NFL doesn't do that. Somebody has to fucking play I guess I can't say New England Patriots. They won, but we'll get to that later. Somebody has to fucking play, no offense, Mike. I feel we keep beating you up. Somebody has to play the fucking Giants. And you don't get some cupcakes there. So I know it's Mike's about to catch strays this whole episode probably, but yeah. So I put more on that. I do think the 12 team does ruin it to an extent. I think we can stay early because I didn't feel the same urgency when LSU lost to USC. I didn't feel the same way as last year's LSU USC game because it's like, all right, fuck it, they lost. They'll come back and play, and still can win their conference, still go. I do think that's gonna, as the season goes, gonna be a recurring theme of. They can still maybe lose another game or two, especially your teams at the top. Your Georgia, your Ohio State. I think for them to eliminate Georgia, I think truthfully believe Georgia will have to lose 3 to 4 games for them not to make the playoff.
Yeah, and looking at Georgia, I mean, to your point on that, and the fact that a lot of these teams, like Georgia has, if it stands this way, they'll have to play the last 7 games of their season against ranked opponents. 5 out of the 7 games are against ranked opponents. So, I mean, and it's not just 25th or 23rd. They're like top 15 opponents, so people who could potentially get in the playoff, right? So, Grandpa Jay.
And that's why I'm okay with the cupcakes occasionally because when you look at a back end and Georgia's playing that, it's like, well, damn, you're going to make Georgia also go play Ohio State week 2 and then have to go run that schedule? That's asking a lot in an extended schedule.
All right, Silent J. What you got down?
Well, I feel like it's played Notre Dame's loss, not for Notre Dame fans, but it's played into the average fan even better here because every week Notre Dame's on the hot seat, right? So it's already created more hype for the non-Notre Dame fan who doesn't stress out about whether they have to win out or not. We just know, hey, this team has to win out. So now all of their games have urgency to it. So for us, we're looking at Notre Dame like, hey, you better win or you're out. And that makes it more exciting for us, at least, especially people who hate Notre Dame, right? Because they're like, Notre Dame's on the hot seat every week. Let's see how they handle that stress and that pressure. The big brothers have to keep playing the little brothers. We know how much it does for the impact of their program, so that's not going away. But I think what should happen is you should start your season off perhaps with that cupcake game as a warm up, right? So your teams are just getting their feel for the season again. You get everybody kind of expects it's going to be a blowout. That's fine. Little brother gets on with their schedule and what they have to do with their conference. They get their $2, $3, $4 million, whatever it is, and then they take care of business on their end. What needs to happen, I think, is I like what Iowa and Iowa State did. I think they should have the in-state rivalry games early on, and then you kind of adapt into your conference games after that. So I kind of believe it's realigning of the schedule that maybe has to happen. But I like what's happening right now. I think it's creating more hype for the teams because here's what's happening, right? You're going to assume more than ever before that you still have a chance to win a natty, even though you lost 1 or 2 games. So maybe you see a better effort than you would have seen late in the season because the team feels dejected and they're not really playing for anything. And who knows how much that's affecting the locker room. But if the coach can keep the players hyped like a Missouri, like, hey, guys, we only lost to Georgia and we only lost to Tennessee, that doesn't look bad on our resume, especially if they have a 1-score loss to one of those teams. We're still in the mix here. We went out and we're still in the mix to win a natty championship. That to me builds more hype and kind of helps the coaches out, because your players stay more invested.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it from that perspective as well. Like, staying invested throughout the season. And the biggest thing this past week is how bad Michigan looks. Like, right? It's like, holy shit. Like, what a drop off they've had this year. And realistically, are they probably going to the playoff? I don't know at this point. The way that offense is not moving the ball, the way the defense is not. But I think it gives you a good perspective of, okay, here's where they're at now. How do they look when they play in Week 12 against Ohio State, right? Like, what is that look like? If they take Ohio State to the wire, right, that is the growth that this college football playoff format is meant to do. It's to show the growth throughout the season because you're not supposed – like, obviously you have the juggernauts, Texas and Georgia right now, who are probably the favorite to go to the championship. But those teams that have those early losses look like shit, and then all of a sudden in Week 12, they're like, holy shit, that team – remember, we say it every year. It's like, oh, that team deserved to be in there. That team played hard throughout the last, 5 games of the year. They won their championship. They should be in, da-da-da-da. That's what this college football playoff format does. So I think it's it is too early, but it's also, I think, it's good for what the game needed at this point with a lot of teams out of there. So
2 things can be true at once. Yeah, Will Howard came to Ohio State and he stepped up. Ohio State came out and they started balling. Meanwhile, you got Kyle McCord. That was our last guy. That's our ex at this point. Kyle McCord, he's been doing his thing at Syracuse. I mean, shout out to him. That's fine. I had no beef with Kyle, and I hope for the best for him. I've seen some online where people were basically trying to compare the two and saying, oh, Ryan Day didn't do a good job with Kyle. Let's be real. I don't think Kyle was ever going to be the guy at Ohio State because it's a tall task. It's a lot to ask for these people to have that type of pressure every day, and some people just aren't meant to have that type of pressure. The truth is, Kyle McCord probably was always a Syracuse-level quarterback anyways, but his best friend was Marvin Harrison, so, it was a package deal. He went to Ohio State. Maybe if Kyle McCord went to Syracuse or Rutgers or Maryland, one of these type of schools, we would never had an issue with the guy to begin with. Will Howard on the other end, hey, maybe he's a little more prime time. I don't know if it's that or if it's the fact that he went to Kansas State, had to carry a team, and now he shows up here and he's a little more ready as an older guy. But at the end of the day, it's not Kyle McCord versus Will Howard. It's really Ohio State's doing what they're doing, Syracuse doing what they're doing. Both teams are starting off great, and that's wonderful for both. So shout out to Kyle. I mean, I don't have a beef with him. I hope he does good there. At the end of the day, Will Howard's my guy. I'm an Ohio State fan. So right now, that is our guy. And, don't worry about what Kyle's doing.
When we look at, kind of bounce around, because, NFL Week 1 started, and go Birds. Let's get it. Trace Steelers won on the road, as we thought.
Yep, big win.
Grandpa Jay's Bucks. You get a baker man down there baking them cakes. Baking
them tutties, boy.
Fly, Eagles, fly. And, we have a Division III team in an NFC East playing, and that's always great.
Football doesn't like
that
me
was
this year.
Horrendous. I'm sorry, bro. That was terrible.
Football doesn't like me this year. That was pretty bad. I didn't have fun watching that game. I was excited for Giants football to be back for about 5 seconds.
From the opening kickoff.
And then the kickoff happened.
Yeah.
So
No, yeah,
Mike,
like they look good in jerseys. What?
so Mike, this question kind of goes to you pretty good. So we're gonna play our little game called This or That, but it's only one question this week. So we're gonna play This or That. Would you rather skip a year of college football, or would you rather skip a year of the NFL? This is very difficult for Mike, so I really want to hear his. I really want to hear what Mike has to say.
You're not even allowed to look at any highlights. It's not just skipping it. You can't even look at anything about the game. So if it comes on Sports Center, you got to walk away from your TV. Nothing.
So
it is really gone out of your life.
I'm really interested to hear what Mike has to say, because he's in a different predicament than I think any of us other three are in. Which would you rather do right now? Skip a year of college football or skip a year of NFL? And exactly what Jay said. Nothing. Not 1 ounce. Nothing.
Nope. You got to pretend this league does not exist, or this conference, whatever, doesn't exist. Or not.
Well,
obviously.
Let's see. Which shit performance can I take away from my memory? See, this one's tough because I enjoy football. Like, I like win or lose. I like
you
watching.
You can't watch your team.
No, this is entirely.
No,
I thought this was entirely.
Watch.
Oh, your team. Oh, my bad. Yeah. The entire
not your team. It is you're not dealing with this sport. Your team, anybody else's team.
I'm sorry. I misspoke. I meant you can still watch the other league. Like, right? You can still watch the other league.
You watch the other
league
every day.
So you got football still, but you're not.
Yeah, you got football. You just don't got one of the leagues.
But I like them both so much is the problem, which is what makes this a very good question. I would have to say by a razor thin margin, believe me, razor thin margin, I would probably pick skip a year of college football.
Oof.
I'm usually like on basketball, I'm absolutely college basketball, but I don't know. There's just for some reason there's something about the NFL that it's hard. It's slightly harder for me to give up a year of than college football. Maybe it's because you never quite. I mean, your program can be good most of the time, whereas like as a Giants fan, it's like, okay, we either win the Super Bowl or we're like a top 5 pick in the draft. So there's like really never been an in between.
I think that's pretty easy for me. I mean, I'm going to say I could skip a year of the NFL. I've said it many times. There's been years where I don't watch the NFL because the Eagles are so bad. And honestly, like NFL fans are kind of ridiculous, to be honest with you. Like I can be away from the game, the NFL game, for a little bit and get a little bit of a breather from NFL fans because some of them are amazing. And like we met this past weekend at the Dolphins tailgate, really awesome people. But there's also those other side of people that root it for all, that make it really bad. So, and there's nothing like waking up after working a 40-hour week on Saturday morning, getting home from the gym, and all you hear is the college game day bus rolling in at some university, and just seeing those 4 guys, 5 potentially with Lee Corso, out there at a campus early in the morning. And it's just, it feels like just fall to me. And I just love that feeling. I love the atmosphere around college game day. So I don't think I could go any time without college football. But NFL, yeah, I could do some time without. For it's so stressful and it's more expensive, way more expensive. So you already got me on the expense, right? So I can be like, all right, yeah. The reason why I've only been to one NFL game my entire life. So Grandpa Jay, we'll save Trey.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I would X out a year of college football. And it's more about selfish reasons for me, right? Like I can watch a Thursday night and a Sunday night or Monday night, given the nature of the job that I have, where a lot of times I'm consumed on the weekends. So I'll miss the entire landscape of college football because I'm busy for an entire Saturday. Not the case in the NFL. There's so many options for me to at least catch a game in that given week. I don't feel like if this is all I was watching, I don't even get a chance to watch the only league I can watch. So for selfish reasons, I'm going with the NFL. and I kind of like playing fantasy football, right? It's a little bit fun. So
Oh,
I want to
really?
be engaged with my fantasy football as well. I don't want to kind of just be like, oh, look at the points on my team, and I saw no highlights and I have no idea where it came from. And obviously on the fantasy app, they show you, highlights sometimes. Like, well, crap, I can't even look at that right now. It'd be too much of a tease. Nor would I want to play fantasy if that was the case. So I'm sticking with giving college football a year off.
Gee, I wonder why with that monstrosity of a trophy behind you.
Yeah, right.
That you love NFL
That
football. Yeah.
we can protect the apartment with that thing. That thing could kill a man.
Well, it's kind of tough for Trey Day because his team is Ohio State.
Yeah, Mike and I
he's
had a
always
discussion.
successful, and he's pretty successful in fantasy football. I mean, Pittsburgh's been always successful, probably one of the most consistent teams. So Trey Day, what could you live without?
Oh, no, it actually wasn't hard. I could live without the NFL. Everybody knows this. Ohio State is my favorite sports team of any sport. So, I mean, any sport, basketball, baseball, that's my favorite franchise is Ohio State football. So, no, it wasn't that hard, honestly, because John already alluded to it. Some NFL fans get annoying. People always want to fight you about NFL shit. When I go back and forth with the college people, it's a lot more fun. The fan interactions are more fun.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, for all the shit I would give, the Michigan fans and shit like that, I've had way more civil conversation with Michigan fans than I do me being a Steelers fan talking to Browns fans. If I say something like the other week, I go on, I say, "Oh, Jameis Winston's going to start," you're just being a hater. I just said this could possibly happen. When I said Alex Orji wouldn't start, honestly, nobody jumped on my neck. Everybody just like, yeah, we'll see what happened. I was like, yeah, bro, like let's be realistic. I feel like the college fans at times are a little. It's different. When you go to the tailgates, it's way more fun. It's more relaxed, and everybody enjoys themselves more. You don't got, no offense, Bills Mafia. You don't got people jumping off fucking roofs in a fucking flaming fire pitch and shit like that. Like it's a little more. I don't turn on and see a bunch of fights every week at the stadiums. And then on top of that, it's the traditions. I think the rivalries are more intense in college football, which are more fun because we do have these rivalries. Because the thing is, even if your team sucks, you still have your rivalry to look forward to. When your team sucks in the NFL, it's like, we just suck. You don't care about the rivalry game. Like, you can be sitting there, Ohio State and Michigan, and one team's 12-0, other team's 5-7. You're still invested in that game. You don't feel that investment in the NFL with that. So any day, hands down, if you told me I had to skip, I'm gonna skip the NFL and keep my college football. And also game day, that type of stuff. We don't have those type of environments in the NFL. Yeah, we could say this stadium looks fun, but game day is something different. Same even for Big Noon now that Fox is doing. It's different. I even like the college announcers better like the NFL announcers. I mean, shout out to Tom Brady. You put me to sleep on Sunday. Everything about Gus Johnson never puts me to sleep when I'm listening to him. Tony Romo, I put him on mute.
I felt like it was a lullaby when I was listening to Tom Brady.
Trey, to your point, right? Remember last year, divisional games at the end of there for Carolina, tickets are going for 50 cents.
Yeah, I mean, it realistically
was a divisional rivalry game.
Divisional rivalry games, right?
And
never see that.
And to that point, Trey, like when we were there
$2
when we were there this past weekend at Miami Gardens, I gotta say the better tailgate was definitely the Hurricanes because you see the pride in everybody, you see the people going to these games, and I hate to say it, but it is the expense. We went there and it was $25 to park for the Hurricanes. You go there for a Sunday tailgate for NFL, it's $100, and I asked one guy there, and he said that was cheap.
40.
That was cheap for $100 to park. Not even in the game yet.
Just to park.
Just to park. He said that's cheap. Yeah. So, and we weren't even in the luxury lot. We were like in the way back lot, had to cross a bridge, and whatnot. So, I just think that the college, there's just so much more pride with it, right? Either you went to the school or you just grew up watching the school. You love the you had the fraternities, from FAMU, and you had everybody just kind of like enjoying different vibes of the parking line, and that's like that anywhere. I mean, Ohio State has the tradition of where they walk through the big ass gym, right? Everyone's in there, their band's playing. You've been there, you've seen it.
Oh, I've been to it,
and it's like one of the dopest things in college sports. And then Michigan has the quad walk, the Syracuse has the quad walk. Everyone has their different little nuances of coming into the stadium where NFL's a little different, right? And I get it why people like it, but the expense, I think, when you look at it, is so much more drastic, and it's so. And then this is coming from two teams that play in the same stadium, same area, same everything, and you see how much. And even if you wanted luxury, just giving one more thing on that, even if you want a luxury tray in that lot, you can pay $50 and you're in closer, like you're right next to the stadium. So at Miami Gardens versus I think it's like $400 or $500, which doesn't make any sense to me. So let us know in the comments what you guys think. Would you rather skip NFL or would you rather skip college football? And that's nothing. Not a nothing. You can't watch it, can't do anything. But let's take it to the NFL Week 1. Week 1 was full of surprises, disappointments, question marks, like I said in the beginning. So, what was your biggest disappointment or biggest surprise going forward out of Week 1? Whether it was player, team, coach, what have you. Trey?
It actually all happened at once. I had the biggest disappointment and surprise. It was on one end, I expected the Patriots to go 0-8 at least to start the year. They had a very much schedule that said, okay, I don't even see where the win is at here. I think the Titans, it was like their Week 9 match. And I said, okay, this is the first game I see where they have a possibility of winning. On the other end, I told people I didn't think Cincinnati was going to be as good as people projected, but I damn well didn't think they were going to lose to the fucking New England Patriots. I don't give a damn if T. Higgins didn't play or not. At the end of the day, you still had Chase, you still had Burrow, you still, supposed to have what's supposed to be an improved offensive line and defense, and they laid a fucking egg. I mean, Gerard Mayo goes out there in his first game, and I forgot Bill Belichick wasn't coaching because the defense still looked perfectly fine out there, So, I mean, Jacoby Brissett. Yeah, I mean, Jacoby Brissett, I don't know what it is with this guy, but it's like every team just plugs him in for like 4 weeks, lets him start, they do decent, and they say, you know what, let's bring out our rookie or something. Like, that guy just keeps getting passed around, I don't just, like, crazy, but
Jacoby
Brissett.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
he keeps getting passed around and keeps going to teams, wins a couple games, and they're like, oh, yeah, I forgot we're tanking, put him on the bench. Oh, yeah, I forgot we got a rookie. We'll start put him on the bench. And I actually, for Jacoby, I don't know if he'd be a great starter, but I saw some bad quarterback play. Jacoby might be actually a starting level quarterback based on some of the shit I saw this week. So, yeah, it happened at once. Bengals' biggest disappointment, Patriots' biggest surprise, all happened to me in the same game this week.
I got to say my biggest surprise, and sorry, Mikey, to throw shit on you, but it was Sam Darnold. I'll give him credit where credit's due. He surprised the shit out of me, going 19 for 24. I think he was 13 for 14 in the first half, 208 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. He did what he needed to do to get the job done. He got the ball to his star guys and didn't try to force anything, right? He just tried to do what he had to do. I mean, they had, and I give credit to, that offensive coordinator. He rushed the ball 26 times, gave the ball to Aaron Jones, and said, hey, we signed you for a reason. So, and obviously Justin Jefferson, Jetta had a touchdown, 6 targets, 4 receptions, and a tutty. But I look at it as like, damn, okay, are the Vikings gonna do something with this, or is Sam Darnold will do Sam Darnold things here later in the year, right? So that's my biggest surprise looking in, because I didn't see it. I'll be honest, I on the that thing Thursday show, I said that game was going to be a tie, so it was nowhere near that. And I guess my biggest disappointment was John Harbaugh in that game against the Chiefs. I get it, game of the season. No, just John Harbaugh, not even the Raiders. John Harbaugh
as a person.
Like the misuse of Derrick Henry. Now, granted, Derrick got the ball 24 times, but most of those carries were in the first half. And how you don't put your best offensive player next to Lamar on the field in crunch time, and I said this earlier, even as a decoy, it still draws the defense to him that he could get the ball, right? And the misuse of plays. I mean, it's just the poor clock management towards the end of the game. You had a chance to make a statement on Thursday night in the first game of the season in Kansas City and basically squandered it, in my opinion. I think if they utilized Henry a little bit more, he says they're not going to use him 30 times a game. I said, okay, you don't need to, but utilizing him in critical points of that game is where they lost that game, in my opinion, because he is an X factor, regardless if you give him the ball or not. Him on the field is an X factor, and the defense has to think about it and be like, is he getting the ball? Are they going to dump it off to him? Like that's a thought. Versus whoever the backup for, who did really well, I forget his name for Baltimore, but That was kind of my biggest disappointment right there. But it's only week 1, so we'll see what happens. Mike,
I don't think they squandered it. I mean, they were 1 inch away from having a chance to win the game. So you can't say they squandered it. They actually had a chance to win the game.
He squandered it in the first couple minutes. There was a lot of chances for the Baltimore Ravens to kind of do things with the ball, and they didn't throughout the game. That led up to that last drive.
I think we need to remember that Kansas City's defense is probably still the most impressive unit on that team.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm saying the fact that Baltimore had an opportunity throughout that game to kind of take advantage of opportunities that were there and did not. Now, yes, Kansas City's defense is probably one of the top defenses in the league, but there was a lot of opportunities that led up to that last drive. But Mike, what's your biggest disappointment or biggest surprise?
So I actually, funnily enough, I did agree with you. So there's no need to apologize for bringing it up. My biggest surprise was Sam Darnold, and it's not just because it was against my team, and I know that they're taking it with a grain of salt because the Giants' defense is absolute Swiss cheese bullshit. But the fact that this guy, ever since his rookie year didn't work out as well as the people wanted it to with the Jets, has just been put down and expected that he was an absolute failure, and now he enters a team that seems to have given him the vote of confidence post J.J. McCarthy injury. Like you said, we brought you in for a reason. We believe in your ability to be able to operate within this offense. And yeah, now he's making smarter decisions than we've seen him make in the past. He's working within the offense the way it's supposed to work. Get the ball to Jefferson, hand it off to Jones. Don't make dumb mistakes and dumb passes. Don't force things. And it works. And again, it's against the Giants, so take everything with a grain of salt. But Sam Darnold looked like a quarterback that could help the Vikings win some games, or at least not keep them from winning games, not cause them to lose games. So that was my biggest surprise. My biggest disappointment, I guess it was just a game in general, was I was disappointed in the Tennessee Titans for blowing that lead, because it was like, okay, cool. Look, Tennessee's like, look, Will Levis looks kind of capable to be maybe a starting quarterback, and cool, they brought in Tony Pollard. Look at all the variety he brings. And then it's just like, oh, wait, fuck, they just got torched in the second half by a rookie and a team that's just got put together because there's so many new people on it.
All right.
So, yeah, that was just disappointing.
Shout out to the Bears defense because they won that game.
Right, exactly.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams didn't do shit. I just want to make that known. He didn't do shit.
Oh, no, he did not.
And they're interviewing him after the game instead of the defensive
star.
Should interview Jonathan Owens or one of the other guys that got a pick 6 on the defense. So, Grandpa Jay.
My biggest surprise was looking at the Buffalo Bills fans overreact and not trusting in their guy, Josh Allen, to lead them back to a win. Because what has Allen proven to you guys since he's been there? The guy's a fighter. Of course, he's going to give it his all to try and win the game. You're literally sitting in your seats like, oh, my God, our season's over. Oh, we're down to Arizona in week 1. I mean, the dejection on these fans' faces was absolutely fucking ridiculous. Not only did they have more than enough time to come back and win this game, but it was almost like the fans were literally giving us that vibe, like, here we go. Here's the demise of the Buffalo Bills. We're going to finish 4th in the AFC East. I could not believe the dejection on their face and almost a lack of faith and trust in one of the best players in football, period, not just at his position. And of course, Super Josh comes back and does his thing. And why am I surprised about it?
Yeah, because just knowing their history, if I was a Bills fan, I probably would be like,
I'm just surprised. So I could get, listen, I understand you think the Buffalo Bills fans are brats, and most of us do probably declare them to be pretty, the brats of the NFL. But come on, man, it's week 1. You got Josh Allen. You got to sit down there and have a little bit of faith. I was just surprised to see complete dejection like that. So, biggest disappointment, Daniel freaking Jones, looking like a rookie in his 6th year. In his 6th year, how can the game still be too fast for you? How can you predictably keep turning the ball over twice a game and luckily not 3 or 4 times? It's almost like he's incapable of throwing a ball downfield. You would figure that he gets one of the best downfield threats in history with the speed that he has on his team now. And the freaking guy still doesn't know what to do with that kind of talent. I mean, zero body language and emotion as well on the sidelines. Man, I swear, bro. I'm the GM. I'm coming down there in the sidelines and telling the head coach, sit this fucking guy down. He's done. All right. The guy does not give a shit about winning. And then he wants to come in a post-game interview and say, oh, I'm here to win football games. I'm not here to think about whether my job is going to be in jeopardy. Well, you damn well best start thinking about your job being in jeopardy. And I should have used this shit for my rant because this shit got me more fired up than my actual rant. But Jesus, Daniel Jones. I mean, in your 6th year, you're the luckiest damn guy in the world because freaking quarterbacks don't get a year and a half anymore, far less but 5 seasons to prove yourself. I don't care if one was injury riddled. This guy's the luckiest guy in football because he should have been out of the NFL fucking 3 years ago. So what a disappointment. Couldn't believe what I was seeing in that game. Plus, he almost messed, well, he fricked up our big parlay too.
Feel like the Pat White, Denard Robinson days of college football and just go Wildcat entire game. They'll probably have better success, to be honest with you, Mike.
With who?
I actually have a suggestion for y'all.
I don't know.
Okay, so
that's ridiculous.
Figure it. You can find a fast running back. They used to play.
No, I have a suggestion. Really, you put so Darren Waller retired. You need a tight end. Daniel Jones can run fast. He can run a straight line. Put his ass a tight end. Put another quarterback. Yeah, he's big enough. Put the motherfucker at tight end and try to see what happens at this point. He's not a fucking quarterback. He might be a tight end.
Yeah,
maybe
not.
Maybe he takes some hill. Use it for goal line packages and tight end.
That interception, to I forget number 47 on Vikings was absolutely terrible. He threw it right to him.
So ridiculous.
Threw it right to him.
Van Ginkel.
It is predictable. It's like you can read it before you even hear the play call or see the formation. And like, he's about to give us the ball, guys. Let's be ready for it.
And that's the biggest thing, right? Like, these are rookie mistakes that he's making. And like, I'll say Jalen Hurts. I'll call his ass out too. He made some rookie freaking mistakes that he needs to clean up because as a 4th-year quarterback, as a $50 million man, you cannot make those mistakes in those games. That first pick of the game, 3rd play of the game for the Eagles, he lofts up a pick. And then throws that cross body to A.J. Brown in the end zone, another pick in the quad coverage. You can't make these mental mistakes. And everyone always says, why are you so critical of these quarterbacks? Well, because they're asking for 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 million dollars a year. I'm going to be freaking critical because you're taking up a third of my salary cap. Yes, you don't have a big leash. You don't have a big leash and learn how to grow. Yes, we're gonna stick with you, but you need to grow as a quarterback quicker than you have to any other position. It's just the name of the game now. And if you don't want it, then don't say, hey, I'll get paid $20 million a year, sure. If it allows me not to have any pressure. NFL fans, you need to relax. It is just week 1. At the end of the day, there is so much football left. And with the league expanding to potentially 18 and 20 games, a lot of your starters are not going to be playing in the preseason, which allows them to be rusty going into the first of the season. Coordinators, head coaches, GMs, players in general are moving around more than they ever have. And at the end of the day, it's going to take some game time snaps. You can practice all you want. You can tell me I practice till you're blue in the face. At the end of the day, it's game time snaps. That's what's going to help a team gel. That's going to allow teams to get better, is those real-time snaps, seeing different schemes, seeing different offensive sets for defenses, seeing different defensive schemes for the offense. It's just going to take some time. But if you panic after week 1, you're going to have a very long season. So relax, enjoy football is back, and have a good Sunday, Monday, Thursday, whenever they play football. Just enjoy the game. But I don't know. I look at the entire NFL. I look at a lot of the quarterback position is I agree with Tom Brady. It's mediocre. At this point, there's only a few quarterbacks in this league. There's Aaron Rodgers. He didn't look that good. There's Brock Purdy, who looked really good on Monday night. You had obviously Patrick Mahomes. Lamar looked pretty good. I like the way he's moving around, but I don't like the fact that he's taking the big hits right now early in week 1. Like, those big hits can't sustain. But looking into the NFL, a lot of teams started off sluggish. Not just the Giants, not just the Panthers, which Panthers are probably going to be gone by the end of the season. Do you think teams need the preseason? Because we're seeing a lot of this sluggish play, and a lot of starters aren't playing in the preseason. Do you think they need preseason? Like starters need to play in the preseason in order to help boost week 1, week 2, week 3 stats?
It used to
No.
be the norm where they would play at least two drive, like maybe 2 or 3 drives, one series, which doesn't do anything to create more chemistry or give the unit a sense of confidence. So I don't think that's where it happens. I just think as fans we have to understand, especially for offensive line units, they need time to play together so they are in sync and they're moving together and they understand how they're complementing one each other and who's really has established themselves as the captain, who's really recognizing what's going on and communicating. So I think you just need time to establish, that feel for the game and who's doing it. And, with more games, we said it might get up to 20 games in the regular season. You can't do more preseason games. It's going to be too much football for these guys. You're going to lose. Your practice squad guys are going to be done. And then what's going to happen when you can't even designate somebody to a position? So I'd actually be okay, to be honest, right? If there was flat football scrimmages when these teams come together and practice, I'd be okay with that being what it is. And you're not even playing a damn preseason game. You can do it if you still want, but you still get to develop some chemistry. It actually might be more fun, right? Because you get to see that speed and talent on display more. Defensively, you could run drills and different things that could probably be more appealing, but fans don't see it. So I think you could use this opportunity to innovate the game during preseason and still get guys like out there moving and doing what they have to do to get fit. But the answer lies in all of us being patient. I mean, it's a marathon to win a Super Bowl. I mean, know that. Because if we had to judge last year after week 3 whether the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl, everybody would have said no because they look like one of the worst teams in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, looking
I
at
don't
the
think
NFL, I mean, I think it's team dependent. Like for my Eagles, I'm gonna go off them. I think that Jalen and Cam Jurgens probably should have started maybe one game, played a couple series because there is that relationship and chemistry that you have with your quarterback and center. You have to have the timing. And there was 2 fumbles that Cam's not used to the hard counts with Jalen or maybe the nuances that Jason Kelsey was with. So I think there are certain situations and certain positions. I think who was saying it today? I think what was Shannon? It was Dan Orlovsky was saying it. He's like, I think certain positions should play because it's different chemistry, like you said, like the offensive line. Now, not the whole game, but I think it's critical for that because you can practice all you want, but there's nothing like game time speed, different schemes, different blitz packages on the defensive side, different offensive routes, different offensive movement, those type of things. So there's nothing. I'm against preseason football as it is. I love the inter squad meetings. So that's kind of like flag football because no one really gets hit. I mean, they do and they don't, but something's got to like have some sort of. But I agree with you, Jay. Patience, as you heard in my rant, or will hear in my rant. Patience. You just need to have patience. It's a long marathon. You're going to have mishaps in the beginning, and that's how you evolve throughout the season and make different trades and make different acquisitions and pick up guys off the practice squad, play guys off the 53 man. That's how you kind of evolve your team throughout the year. And it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So, Trey?
No, you don't need more preseason. As far as I'm concerned, you can scrap preseason altogether anyways. Most of the people don't play, and everybody can say, well, okay, we put our stars out there in game time, but it's not game time because just because I play my stars don't mean they're playing their starters. So what good would, in John's example, Jalen Hurts goes out there with the starter center, but they're playing the third string team. So it's not like they're really getting reps. You get more when you probably get the one-on-ones and all that with these joint practices than you would at this point in a preseason game. The more and more you add games onto the schedule, you're already asking these guys to go out here and risk more and more injury, which isn't worth it. Really, what it comes down to is a lot of this sluggishness comes down to how teams are actually practicing. I'm not saying that practice is everything, but practice does mean something. This week, for example, we had 22 illegal formation penalties within the week 1 of football. Last year, we had 10 illegal formation penalties between all the teams in week 1. To me, that's a practice thing because that's simply being able to line up. You learn that on the practice field. Nothing about going to preseason was going to make that any better if these guys simply don't know where the hell to line up at. I mean, I've seen it in it's not one team. I've seen it in every game. The people were like, the quarterback's run over. He's trying to grab a tight end and like carry him onto the other side saying, you need to get on the line and get it here because that means where were you at practice? Then the other thing you have to look at is and some teams it affected more than others. Are we actually at practice? So the 49ers seem not to be as much affected because Trent Williams didn't practice. He shows up fine and worked out. Ayuk didn't practice fine. He shows up and works out. Then I go watch the Bengals game, and Burrow didn't practice more than 3 days consecutively, only one time this year. Chase, we didn't know his tweetment for the game he was playing because he's still in a contract dispute, and they looked like they hadn't practiced together, which is crazy for these two guys because these two guys have been playing together since college, but they still didn't look like they had been hanging out or practicing together. So some of this is when you got a team and you can start to get into these disputes, you need to start trying to figure this stuff out. Whether you're going to trade the guy, whether you're going to give him a contract, stop dragging feet and dragging this shit out. I'll tell you one thing with the Cowboys. I think that Dak Prescott deal was done weeks ago. I think Jerry just wanted to capitalize and do the cute moment and all that. And that's why Dak wasn't panicking. Because, yeah, you don't announce that at 12:15 on the first week of the season unless that shit had been done. And I think that's also why it worked out for them, why he didn't panic and why they looked okay. But these teams that, you go out here and you don't practice right, yeah, it's going to look sluggish.
I think the biggest surprise, Trey, to your point, is the amount of veteran players that have been playing for the same team for a little bit now, playing for the same offensive scheme, playing for – I know there's new rules in the NFL, but I think the surprise was that. The legal formations, the not focusing in on, like, false starts. I wonder how many false starts there were because it felt like every other play there was a false start being thrown.
But you know what's crazy about that with the new rule change when you say that? Really, the formation rules didn't change. The one that changed was the kickoff rule, and I would have thought that's where we get the penalties at, but I didn't really see penalties on that. I would have thought we'd have people fucking up there, and they were actually okay there, which even more while I'm looking at what the fuck were y'all doing, because I would have gave you grace if you said, you know what, I didn't realize this how the kickoff worked. I left the zone too early, or I let the ball bounce out the zone or whatever, but, like, illegal formation, bro, like, we've been doing this shit since fucking Pee-wee when we were 6. How do you not know how many men need to be on the ball?
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty bad. I mean, and let's all agree here, or maybe not. New kickoff is fucking dumb. They had the sideline reporter. They had the sideline reporter on. They were trying to do some. She kind of backed herself into a corner. She was like, "Yeah, in the preseason there was 77% of the kicks returned, but then in the Chiefs and Ravens game, two were returned." It's like that's the season. That's like an average low for a game, and the percentage was like very comparable to what it was before. So it's like you just didn't make
Overall,
it.
though, when they pile up the stats, it was a 33% return rate, which is an all-time high for the last like 5 or 6 years or something.
What?
However, almost 75%, which is weird, right? Almost 75% of most kickoffs, because that's why I don't get it. 75% of most kickoffs, or 73% or something, went into the end zone, which most of the time would not be returnable. But now it is plausible they're returning those balls or those kickoffs.
Well, I mean, we'll see. I'm gonna see how the NFL continues to. Oh, wait, Mike, did you go?
No, Mike
Nope.
didn't go.
Okay. Do you want to
go? Yeah, sure. And no, I think
he's just sitting back there. Hey, Mike, you're still here. Okay. I thought we shitted on you enough that you just had like, I'm going to bed.
Well, no, honestly, so far in the NFL talk and the college talk, that's been the theme of this week's show, ladies and gentlemen. Mike's teams suck. No, the preseason, you don't necessarily need it. I agree, you need to do something. You need to do something different, whether it's inter-squad practices, stuff in practice, or preseason games, if that's, I guess, what you decide is the way to go about it. If you're going to do 20 games, you should not do preseason games because that's way too much football to put on these guys' bodies, let alone what they're already doing. But you have to do something to create that cohesion, especially John spoke to his team, the Eagles. I'll speak to my team, the Giants. We had, coming into the season, so many rookies and new guys on the team that putting the starters in for preseason games or working them more in inter-squad matchups and things like that makes sense because these guys have, there's probably like 90% of the roster that hasn't played together, at least not consistently. So to create that cohesion and to be ready for the start of the season, you need to have these guys playing together in the systems in some regard in a competitive nature. So yeah, that flag football, the inter-squad flag football, maybe that's the answer where guys aren't getting hit, but they're running plays against each other. Their defense is running defensive plays they're going to play during the year. Offense is doing the same. something has to change to help these guys get ready. But yeah, in the end, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So everybody, your teams are gonna. If your team is talented, so, which I can't necessarily say is the case for the Giants, but if your team is talented, unlike the Giants, you'll be fine.
Yeah, but I think the biggest thing is what Jay said, what I said, and what you said is patience, right? Like, they're not, most of the time, if you're not a top competitor, like, if the Chiefs and 49ers came out and just looked awful, like, Brock Purdy was throwing 4 or 5 picks,
Yeah,
Patrick Mahomes was fumbling and throwing picks, we'd be like, okay, what's going on here, right? So,
now there's cause for concern.
but the teams that look bad, we kind of had a feeling
are bad.
they're going to take some time. It takes some time with a whole new team, and I do blame some of it on like the offensive. There's a lot of movement. I don't know if it's a statistic high, but it just seems like there's a lot of head coach. There's a lot of head coaching carousels. There's a lot of head coaching. Offensive coordinators, even on good teams.
Right.
Like good teams, they lose their offensive coordinators because they're so young, and kudos to them to go get a job. But I just feel that it's tough because you're now learning a whole new system. Like the Eagles have had 3 coordinators in 3 years, and still have been a pretty solid team, other than the end of last year, every single year, right? So it takes some time to learn a new offensive set, defensive set in games, and you can't mimic that in preseason. Because you're not playing against number ones. You're playing against guys who are trying to make the roster. When you get into week 1, that's when you're going to see the actual defensive schemes. You're not going to see half the playbook. You're going to see like a quarter of the playbook in preseason, like minimal. So, but let's take it off the gridiron here, and let's go to a sport that's still playing right now and still down to like the last month, and that is the Major League Baseball. So Major League Baseball suffers tremendously when NFL and college football come back, just ratings wise, and which is weird too because it is the heart of baseball season. It's the crunch time right now. So what do you guys think is the answer to, or what ideas do you guys have on baseball coming down to the last wire of the season and keeping the interest with the game, right? So I'll kind of start it. My idea was, hey, the biggest thing with baseball is being able to accessibility, right? So give them the last month of the season for free on MLB.com. Mm-hmm. Give them a month to watch a team and fall in love with the team. Because if I have access to the team and be able to kind of see my team play, it'll entice me to go spend the $24 a month maybe next year and be like, oh, that was a great postseason. I really loved, I never watched baseball, but this was great. The Diamondbacks did something that we never would have saw. And it's like, okay, now you're hooking fans a little bit more because of the accessibility to be able to watch their teams. You not being able to watch your teams or watch any team at that point without paying or doing some sort of streaming way is very difficult. I mean, you can't even watch it on local television anymore. You have to stream it. You have to purchase it. So one idea I had is just to entice it. Look, you're going to make your money back. You already had 7 months worth of MLB TVs. Think how much more you're going to get if you guys entice maybe 1 million more fans, right? So I think just enticing them to have the accessibility to watch the games is going to be better. I mean, even during the postseason, they got them sometimes on MLB TV, sometimes on True TV. You don't have those channels on everyone doesn't have those channels. So accessibility, I think, is going to be the one idea I had. Grandpa Jay, you're nodding down there.
Yeah, I like where you're going this because my idea was similar, except mine is about connecting the fans more to the game at that point in the season because everybody's interest is shifting so much to football that you could justify it saying like, hey, football doesn't really get that interested until maybe week 2 of the NFL or maybe until week 3 of college football, like you said, with so many cupcake matchups that we talk about. So how are you going to connect the fans more? Well, through social media, there should be a lot more fan giveaway things that are happening, but that comes with you obviously like possibly maybe showing yourself watching a game on your live for 2 or 3 innings, right? Like it doesn't matter how you gimmick it. The whole point is how do we connect the fans to the games more? So they also have to do a better job at whatever networks they're assigned to of throughout football coverage, hype up what's happening on that given day if there's a matchup that's going to be indicative of how the wild card might be determined. So they have to be more engaged in this last month and treat it like a race to the playoffs, as opposed to like all of a sudden a week's left and like, oh, there's a race for this last wild card in the AL and the NL's being set already. Yay! Let's look forward to the 1-game playoff or the 3-game playoff. So there's really no hype, and they just wait till the October. It's like, let's just wait till October, the fall classic. Everybody's gonna care all of a sudden. No, they're not, because football grabbed everybody's attention. So right at the start of football, you have to stay relevant, and you have to make sure fans understand why they should be interested. And you have to do a much better job on your marketing team. We said it. Baseball keeps fucking up. They keep dropping the ball on social media, and they need to engage more that way and keep the young fan entertained and interested. And I don't understand why they don't hire younger people to do this. Like, just stop your shit. Stop your traditional shit. Get up with the times and figure out how you can become more relevant when it should be at a high interest factor and not just at the NFL early season just take over, even though that's a tough act to obviously try and compete against. Do a better job with that.
Yeah, I mean, in both leagues, there's still a big fight for the wild card spots. I mean, Baltimore and pretty much Arizona. Baltimore pretty much has it locked up. But I mean, in the NL, I mean, you got teams that Arizona and San Diego are only 2 games up, and then you have a bunch of teams that 1 game back, 4.5, 6.5. So there's still teams fighting. I mean, same thing on the AL side too. So you still have a fight, and like you have to treat this time right now like it's the playoffs. You have to treat it like that and hype it up and give it that hype. I mean, I'm not seeing anything. I watch baseball every single. I have an MLB TV subscription, and I watch it. I'm not seeing any type of advertising for October, and that's sad because baseball. I love baseball, so obviously I'm not the fan that you want to attract. You want to attract the person that's not watching every single day. So, Trey, thoughts? I'm gonna save Mr. Baseball for last.
No, actually, I think it's actually a very simple fix. It's right in their face, and they're not even looking at it. Is you have to target when do you showcase your game. So football, you figure at this point it comes on Thursdays. You don't have Fridays, but everybody goes to do high school football. You Saturdays are locked down, Sundays are locked down, Mondays are locked down. So that leaves you Tuesday and Wednesdays. They need to start showcasing the hell out of Tuesdays and Wednesdays when you get the football season, because at this point, what are we are sitting here on a Wednesday night. And when you're sitting on a Wednesday night, you're like, what am I going to do? So what are you watching? Maybe you're watching baseball. But what they need to do is that's when you say, tonight, the Cubs are playing the Dodgers. Like last night, the Cubs played the Dodgers. That need to be showcased the fuck out. Those are 2 of your most historic franchises. You need to be showcasing the fuck out of that. As Ohtani, goes out here, gets 48th stolen base. He's out here hitting another home run. I mean, yeah, I know that because I watched the Dodgers. So I saw that happen, but most of these other people didn't watch that happen. Why aren't we showcasing that? Maybe earlier in the day you showcased it where you get to see Aaron Judge, and now you got this as a double header. That's what the NBA was doing for a while, but then NFL started to go to the Thursday night games. But the NBA during the earlier season, they showcased the fuck out of them Tuesdays because ain't nothing else to watch. So I guess I'll turn on basketball. That's where you start to maybe go build some stars, and then maybe it turns to a blowout on Sunday. You said, you know what? It was interesting. I saw Tiny do the other day. I'm going to turn this game on. So, yeah, you got 2 days, and I know it's only 2 days, but those 2 days are all yours if you want it. Because honestly, I know we're talking about baseball, and that's the same shit I keep saying about the WNBA. You need to target the days that are open. If they ain't going to do it, one of those 2 leagues need to start targeting Tuesdays and Wednesdays doing football. So WNBA, too, I know I'm going to side tangent. When we get to the playoffs, the WNBA, don't go out here and put the fucking WNBA finals game 1 on a fucking Sunday with football. Put that shit on a fucking Tuesday at 8 p.m. We're all sitting here, we'll watch it. Like, that's what you got to do. Target the dates that they don't dominate.
Now, granted, they'll never change Sunday night baseball, right? That'll always be there. It'll always be there throughout the
And you
right?
should. I'm not saying
it should,
up,
but like Tuesday and Wednesday,
showcase that.
Like the Sunday night game featured 4, and no one knows about this. I mean, they did broadcast a little bit, but 4 Japanese players played in that game, and that's like I think the most ever in a game to ever play. 4 Japanese baseball players to play a game at one time with like Shohei, I think Omega, what's his name? Michael, no.
Imanaga.
Huh?
Yeah.
Imanaga.
Imanaga. What? Oh, I said Omega 3. Omega 3.
One other question.
The
point
vitamin.
before Mike goes. One other quick point before Mike
Yeah.
goes. The other reason you target that, and this is a throwback, once again, I'm bringing a different sport, is to boxing. Back in the day, boxing used to have fights on Friday nights, Wednesday nights on ESPN. Those were a lot of times where you would see these guys, and they would showcase the hell out of them, and then a couple years later, that guy would blow up. But you would say, oh, yeah, I remember that guy on Wednesday night fights. What the fuck else do I got better on a Wednesday night to do than watch boxing? And then that guy blows up, and now I'm interested in watching him on a Friday. Then that Friday becomes me paying for his pay-per-view on a Saturday. So that's where you do take these slow-ass Tuesdays and Wednesdays where we're just sitting on our porch, doing nothing, and you target the shit out of that.
You know what? That's a great point too, Trey. Is they should be able to get creative enough to flex the schedule to make it instead of a 3-game series, a 2-game series that's on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and it's almost hey, if one team sweeps this, then they have a great opportunity to clinch a wild card if the matchup aligns itself. So they should be looking at how they could flex things and move it around and do something like that. That's a great idea.
Well, the only thing with flexing is you would have to flex the national games. That's the only thing, right? Like you couldn't flex moving games around because they play so many and they have to get 162 in, right? So you couldn't flex and move a game like, okay, we're gonna move the Yankees.
No, you can make. No, I'm saying you can make more divisional games, 4-game series early on.
We have to but you can't flex it like that because also travel time. You can flex the type of game that's on there. Like if we had, I don't know, the Blue Jays playing the Rockies, and that's the national televised game, you can flex that game saying, no, we're not going to put that. We're going to put Dodgers playing the Cardinals, and the Cardinals have a chance to make the playoffs. That's what you can flex. You can't flex the games and make them in the afternoon because of ultimately travel schedules too, because some teams are going from like the West Coast to the East Coast on a Wednesday, and that interrupts their travel time. But I get what you mean. I would say more or less flex the national games instead of flexing the actual time of the game.
Not the time I want to flex. It's on the day. If we're saying we're going to showcase it on Tuesday, Wednesday, play enough 4-game series early in the year where you can obviously afford to have a 2-game series a couple times later on in the year. And you could set it up to put it on the Tuesday, Wednesday without being inconvenient. Because you look at the schedule 6 weeks out and be like, hey, these teams are the contenders. Let's find our Tuesday, Wednesday showcases as the double header, if you want to call it that, even though it's not. And those are the teams that will showcase for the month of September. And then they know that 6 weeks in advance, they just rearrange that job schedule. So everybody's on a damn private jet, but ain't nobody taking a bus anywhere. So it's easy to make that adjustment, at least from a standpoint of just telling the fans at the beginning of the year, hey, we're flexing September, so they know in advance.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's what the NFL does. They have a limit to it. The NFL usually flexes like 3 or 4 weeks out when they're doing like the Sunday. So you would have time if you start looking at the schedule. They got enough creative people and Jets that you could start manipulation or in August to have September line up right at that point.
And you're saying doubleheader, like one play in the afternoon, one play, right?
No, he's saying a Tuesday game.
No. I know I'm using that term. I mean, like a Tuesday, Wednesday, as it becomes a 2-game series. So I know I used doubleheader in the wrong context. I'm just saying if it's a 2-game series, Tuesday and Wednesday become relevant because you want to see both games.
Right. Okay, because I thought you were talking about like doubleheader. I'm like, then you're losing fans as it is because ultimately, they can't. If they play at 1 p.m., they're never going to be.
Yeah, that's the wrong terminology. Yeah.
Right? So, but no, I get what you mean. That is a smart idea. I mean, the schedule is actually out for 25 already, right? So you can already start to pinpoint, but you won't know until you get into the season. All right, Mike. Well, we'll give you an hour. Go ahead. What's the analytical, diabolical plan that you have broken down?
Well, you see, we're going to take it back to 1903. They had a good idea back then where it was. Now, I like all of your ideas. I think it's all great because what it really comes down to when I thought about this was, first off, engage with the fans. You have to engage with the fans, both fair weather and diehard, because that's your audience, right? You have to engage with your audience more than you already do. So that took me to the thought of, well, maybe you do some sort of like sweepstakes or a contest, like you guys said about like, oh, if you do this, then you can get tickets to this game, or if you win this, you get tickets to the World Series or whatever. But really, that brought me right. You get a jersey, you get a hat, you win something, like give incentive. But that took me to the idea of, I said incentive. Well, there's one particular long-standing sports game that everybody loves playing every March. Why not do a March Madness style and build up to it as September goes on? March Madness style tournament for the playoffs, where you have to, in this case, there's obviously a lot less teams than March Madness, so you have to pick every game. You have to pick like every game of the 3, 5, or 7 game series. But if you get a perfect bracket, you get a prize, whether it's money, whether it's tickets to the next year's World Series, something like that. People love the March Madness bracket. Millions of people play it. So why not lean into what you know people like and adapt it for your game? Adapt with the times and pick up other people's ideas. Just because you are the America's pastime, you're the oldest sport in the country, all that doesn't mean you have to. Well, that and use it right. Lean into the fact that you're that and show that you are revolutionizing America's pastime. And you have been passed by these leagues that do these things. So it's okay to take their
You're
ideas.
saying that for the postseason, right? Not in March.
No. I'm right. I'm saying that for the postseason. I'm saying people love doing it in March for March Madness. So why not take that and do it for your postseason? And if you build up enough hype around it throughout September going into the playoffs, you've got people that I feel like you may get a lot of people paying attention to what's going on in the MLB so that they are informed on what is happening.
Yeah,
so they can make those picks.
They kind of do already have that. I mean, they do have like the giveaway and everything like that. I think one thing you could entice people, gambling is taking over sports at the end of the day.
Right.
And I know they don't want to associate it with the game, but you could do in-game QR codes on the TV. So basically, you do a QR code, and if you're watching this game and you get this QR code, we're gonna give you $50. Boom. They partner with their freaking. They all partner with some sort of betting company. They all have some sort of partnership. So you do something of that. They get a free $50, but you have to use it during that game. You can use it on any sport or use it on anything, but you have to use it by the time that game ends, or you lose the $50, right? But whatever you win is yours, right? So do some sort of QR code. We're in the day of 2024, right? I like your idea, Mike. I think they already do something similar, but I also think it's just now you're still waiting till October for that, right? What's the lead up for September and October for that? So doing some sort of QR code when someone's watching a game and it's a Monday night special and you gotta sit there and you're watching. It's okay, I got a free $50. Cool. I won $200 off a free bet. Sweet, let's do it. Something of that sort would be actually pretty dope. Or even just a bingo, something that you don't even have to do it with a gambling app. You do some sort of you can do a bingo and you enter into this code and you're watching the entire game and Anthony Volpe gets a homer. Okay, Aaron Judge strikes out 3 times. Okay, John Carlos Stanton gets hit by pitch and you get a bingo and you type in bingo and you win a prize win something
that'd be cool.
Card, a Visa gift card, something of that sort. That will engage someone to watch because it's right now and you have to watch the game in order to be able to stay tuned in because you have to cross off, right? So you can't just hit bingo and go walk away. You have to actually play. So some sort of game that you can play while watching the game is going to entice people. But
gamify the game.
Game inside the game. So a lot of great feedback here. MLB, take our advice. If you do, we patent this so we get 40% profit out of everything.
99. And congrats in order for the greatest women's basketball player in the world, and that would be A'ja Wilson, who is now the single-season all-time scoring record holder in the WNBA. She accomplished the feat last night against the Indiana Fever, and that brings me to my next point. Why did the WNBA not hype this up more? Have we truly reached a point already that if it's not Caitlin Clark, we just don't give a shit? I mean, are they waiting a couple years because they think Caitlin might do it and we're building the hype around her instead of A'ja Wilson, who should be getting praised because this woman has dominated the game for the last 2 or 3 years? Come on, WNBA. Time to do better. Or am I just a fool because I can't accept the fact that we're all just living in Caitlin's world?
But, fellas, we got to get to our signature, which is the Squad. And Grandpa Jay.
My boy.
Grandpa Jay.
Boys and girls.
Last week. Right?
Yes.
Yes. I'm sorry. Grandpa Jay. So
he did.
Had a 4-way tie in 127 episodes. But this is the first time we ever had a 4-way tie. And our tie was who had the closest to the total final in the Chiefs-Ravens game. and Grandpa Jay hit it on the nose with, I think, 47.
Yeah, 47.
47.
Thank you, Trey, for allowing me to price is right. You're 46. I'll give you some credit for that one.
So, congratulations,
Exactly.
Grandpa Jay, for hitting on the money. Should put $5 on it on the game on your app.
And the total, shit, I'll put more than that. Hit right on it.
And take us away with Stump the Squad.
Yes, you guys know what time it is, boys and girls, ghouls and goblins. Thank you for being here. And at this point of the show, it's time for Stump the Squad, where you get to see if you are smarter than the Cinco Squad. So remember, play along and be fair. No laptops, no phones. If you get it right, give yourself 2. If you get it wrong, go ahead and give yourself -2, because right, wrong ain't right. So this week, I think, Mike, are we still waiting to get on the board this week? Are we still waiting for that first victory?
That we are.
I have a feeling Mikey is in it to win it this week, but I will start with him because that seems to be the jinx of people who lose. So go ahead, Mikey, take us away.
Okay. Oh, gee, thanks, Jay. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Well,
I love you too.
Speaking of first wins, gentlemen, I have to pad my injured team pride this week a little bit, as we've discussed. My team sucked this past week. So, in what bowl game did Notre Dame win their first national championship? What bowl game did they win to claim their first national championship? Was it A, the Rose Bowl, B, the Orange Bowl, C, the Cotton Bowl, or D, the Sugar Bowl?
Sugar Bowl.
Cotton Bowl.
Cotton Bowl.
Cereal Bowl.
Okay, two Cotton Bowls and a Sugar Bowl. Well, gentlemen, this week I have successfully stumped the squad.
It's the Orange Bowl.
Rose.
The Rose Bowl.
Damn. Who the hell did they beat in the Rose Bowl? USC?
Mother Teresa.
No, I don't. Probably if it was their first national championship, I want to say that was in like the early 1900s or something.
Yeah, Army or somebody.
I thought the Cotton Bowl was such an old bowl.
Yale.
Yeah, I was in the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
I will pass it over to John. John, you may.
Alrighty, let's get it. So Alabama's taking on Nebraska this weekend.
Nebraska.
Going to Camp Randall. In 1974, number 4 Nebraska came to Wisconsin and suffered a huge loss in a whiteout snow. How many total points were scored between both teams? 27, 30, 41, or 51?
When was the game?
1974. Whiteout, though.
27.
The whiteout.
What was the numbers?
Not the crowd whiteout, like snow whiteout.
Right, like the weather.
What was the numbers?
27, 30, 41, 51.
41.
Trey says 41.
I said 27.
Mike says 27.
Which would be 15-12, but 18-12 would be 30. 30.
Jamie says 30. Today I have successfully stumped Mike and Jamie. It is 41 points.
Oh, wow.
The score was 21-20.
Wow,
Oh,
good
damn.
game. Good whiteout.
Big game I thought it was a lot of points for a whiteout, but yeah. So Grandpa
Yeah,
Jay
I would. That's
is
why.
at -4. I am at -2. Trade is at 0, and Mike's at -2. And I'm gonna throw it down to Grandpa Jay. So stop.
All right, gentlemen. So we saw some razzle-dazzling from Xavier Worthy. 3 touches, 2 touchdowns, which made me start thinking, might he have a shot at the total touchdowns for rookies? So can you guys tell me, what is the number for the NFL record for total touchdowns for a rookie? Is it 16, 17, 18, or 20?
17.
18.
18.
Who said 18?
I said 18 and Mike said 18.
I saw it.
All right, John?
I said 17.
Okay, gentlemen, I have successfully stumped Mike and Trey. The correct answer is 17 by none other than Senor Randy Moss.
I knew it was Moss.
Oh, nice.
I knew the answer was Moss. I was praying you were going to say who had it because I knew that.
No, that's so easy, bro. Who else can I put next to Moss that you guys would actually guess them instead of him?
All All right.
I don't know, Barry Sanders, somebody you could have threw in there and tried to throw off.
Yeah.
Chase, Jerry Rice. I don't know.
Yeah.
Somehow we could still all tie again this week.
Yes, let's do it.
Jesus.
All right, Trey, go ahead.
Okay. The Denver Broncos scored on 2 safeties in week 1. What is the most safeties a team has recorded in a single season? 4, 5, 6, or 7?
5.
Fuck it. 7.
Are you waiting for someone?
John?
Oh, I said 5.
Oh, I didn't hear you. Okay, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, so Jamie said 5, Mike said 7, John said 5.
Yeah.
Okay, so today I have successfully stumped the squad.
Damn it.
Answer is 4.
Damn it. Who wins?
No one. It's a tie between me and Trey. So who's got a tiebreaker?
I got one.
I got one.
Go ahead, Trey. What if you get it wrong?
All right, tiebreaker. How many teams have recorded 4 safeties in a season? That was the tiebreaker for that.
3.
All right. Go ahead, Mike.
It was actually 4. The answer was going to be a back-to-back 4.
Okay. So, tiebreaker this week between John and Trey. I told you that the Notre Dame Fighting Irish won their first national championship in the Rose Bowl. How many times since that Rose Bowl has Notre Dame been in the game?
Been in
Like,
the
you mean been in a championship game or been in the Rose Bowl?
No, been in the Rose Bowl.
Oh, been in specifically the Rose Bowl.
Oh, that's fucking terrible. I don't even know where to guess. What year was that Rose Bowl? Can I get that answer or no? Is that cheating?
Hold on. I can look it
No,
up.
don't tell me that's cheating. That's cheating.
Okay.
Because then I can do count.
3.
Okay. Trey says 3. I am
All right.
actually curious because I don't remember what year it was.
All right, so I'm going to say, how many times have they been in the Rose Bowl since their first national championship?
Since their first national championship when they won it in the Rose Bowl, how many times have they been in the Rose Bowl since then?
7.
For shits and giggles, Mike, my answer would have been 1.
Okay, so just to recap, Trey said 3, John said 7, and Jamie, for shits and giggles, said 1.
Yeah.
Jamie, it's a shame you weren't in it.
Yeah, I know it's
Because
1. I know.
It's not 1. The answer is none.
Oh, nice.
They have never played in a Rose Bowl since. So that
No,
means
sure.
the winner
No,
is
Trey can't win. He
Trey.
can't win on 0. That's not allowed.
Can I win on 0?
Dude,
Dude, we won like fucking 15 weeks.
So this week's Stump the Squad champion goes to Mr. Trey Day, which brings the scoreboard to me with 1, Grandpa Jay with 1, Trey Day with 1, and Senor Notre Dame Giant.
I just
What
keep
a week for Mikey. What a week for Mikey.
Yep, just ain't your week.
Mike, I think you need the vacation.
It was all football questions.
Hey,
too.
hold on. Let's also recall an Allen fantasy football for Mikey as well this week.
To my
in
dad.
2 leagues. I lost in 2 leagues.
Hey,
Football
you
is
guys
just-
Can I?
see who Mikey's playing? You guys see who Mikey's playing this week in our league?
You
Yeah.
Let's go.
and my dad this week, so we'll see. Yes, Fantasy Football Cinco Squad League. Everyone has returned, and Trey Day somehow has he's the back-to-back champion, number 1. Number 2, he has probably the best team on paper right now, and points.
You mofo.
I think he had 175 points this week or something like that.
You had
Yes.
167 and I had 162 or 169. You beat me by
craziest
6.5 points.
The craziest shit about that, the 2 teams ESPN projected to be first and second, they moved them all the way back to like 9th and 10th. They moved me up to 1. I think they moved Jay from like
Bonds
8
was
to
first.
2.
He's
I was last. I mean, I was
They
fourth.
literally-
Because
they
I had
literally to flip the
160
entire
points,
standings. ESPN's projections were awful because they literally flipped the entire standings or projected standings upside down this week.
Dude,
Well, I think they kept me. They only moved me up to like 4 or something. So they obviously don't think I'm good enough to be a contender yet.
So it was a rough week, fantasy wise. I had to play Kyle, and that was I was like, God damn it! Like Kyron Williams, stop scoring! Like, God damn
It wasn't Kyron Williams. His damn defense and kicker scored him like 43 points.
Oh yeah, and Moody. He had Jake Moody. Moody fucking kept kicking.
Yeah,
field.
Moody
He
on
had
that shit,
26
too.
points. I was like,
No, he had Dallas. He had Dallas's kicker and Dallas's defense. I had Moody.
You had Moody. That's right. Because I was
Yeah.
like, how did I lose to a kicker? 26 points on a kicker. I was like, how did I
Because
lose?
the motherfucker kicks 70-yard field goals.
And then
Yeah,
George
he's
Kittle
a
just only got 4 receptions for 30 yards. So that was a risky pick. I should have picked Kelsey when I had the chance, but that's a risky pick too. So, but we're gonna be back here next week. Except me. I'm on vacation next week, but it's the boys taking over in Cinco Squad episode 129. So make sure you guys are tuning in to all of our socials and make sure you're looking at Twitter. We will argue with you. I am not afraid to duke it out.
Nope.
We will. And make sure you subscribe, follow everything. Make sure you tune in to Tailgate Crashers. We have the Hurricanes and the Dolphins coming out this week. So make sure you guys are tuned into the socials. And, of course, we'll see you guys here next week. Cinco Squad out.